fire. Cac TV, igniting the apostolic fire. Cac TV.
Particular program is actually meant to provide mass education opportunity for us. So the first thing you need to consider under pre-resumption phase preparation by schools is that number one, there must be thorough cleaning of the environment. This is very, very important. It will be easy for the government agency to properly do what we call the contact tracing. It's preparation by the pupils and students themselves, because all of us need to prepare and we need to be on the same page and make sure that we are ready to go back to school. This particular program is actually meant to provide mass education opportunity for us. There must be thorough cleaning of the environment.
Edugist on Cac TV. I'm your regular host, Dr. JB Minari. We always bring this program to you, try to get you informed on educational matters and some other affiliated issues that's related to education, and we pick them all around the country, and if possible we also step out of the country to bring one or two things as regards education, and this to a large extent will always help us to make informed decisions on what exactly to do. Well, before we start up today, I want to call our attention to something, and that is the disease in town called diphtheria. Diphtheria actually is not a strange or a new disease in town. It has always been there all over, but the rate incidents have been reducing. The incidents have been reducing over the years because of the presence of the toxoid containing vaccine that has reduced the incidence of diphtheria. But all of a sudden it seems we are having a resurgence, and it's very, very important that we talk about this because it affects the schools, and it also affecting the children more. The diphtheria actually is caused by the Corynebacterium species, and this bacterium species actually causes some things in the body. The diphtheria also has led to a lot of deaths in Nigeria as we speak. As at last count, the Nigerian Center for Disease Control has said that we have about 138 deaths already, and that is much, especially children. And we also, according to them, have over 126 suspected cases. So we have 38 deaths, sorry, not 138 deaths that has been recorded in Nigeria, 38 deaths, especially children, and about 126 suspected cases that we have in Nigeria. I think it calls for concern because the diphtheria is actually highly contagious. It is highly contagious. So if it is highly contagious, and as we speak, we have 38 deaths and 126 suspected cases in Nigeria as at the last count, then I think we should actually begin to talk about this, begin to raise awareness, and begin to ensure that we take some precautionary measures. We are going to discuss probably some more on this diphtheria issue on this show, and probably what our schools can actually do, because it affects the nose, it affects the throat, and sometimes it also affects the skin. And so there are things we need to know about some of these things, and to know how to combat them, and to a large extent to see how we can bring down the case of the diphtheria. The states that have been affected mostly, we have Lagos State, we have Kano State, we have Osun State, and Yobe State. For now, these are the states that have been badly hit by this disease. I'm also thinking that probably it's also been some other states, but at least for now, these four states has been at the forefront of this now. And I think the best thing for us to do is to look at how to nip this in the bud, because you know it's very contagious, and you know our children, when they get to school, pupils, when they get to school, they are very free with each other, they play with each other. In some cases they share some things with themselves, so that alone can actually enhance the spreading of diphtheria, and that can make it move faster and even cross other boundaries to other states that have not been affected before. So I want you to stay tuned on this program as we discuss more and sensitize ourselves and see how we can actually stop this so that it doesn't continue. This is Edugist. I want to proceed on a short break, and when I'm back, we are going to Matters Arising to discuss one of the things that is happening around in our schools, our campuses, within and outside the country. Don't go away. I'll be right back.
This particular program is actually meant to provide mass education opportunity for us. So the first thing you need to consider under presumption phase preparation by schools is that, number one, there must be thorough cleaning of the environment. This is very, very important. It will be easy for the government agency to properly do what we call the contact tracing. It's preparation by the pupils and students themselves, because all of us need to prepare and we need to be on the same page to make sure that we are ready to go back to school.
Welcome back to this the second segment of this program, Edugist. We're going to Matters Arising. Well, let's start off from the chaos that happened in University of Benin. As most of you are aware, in Nigeria, we have issues of fuel scarcity and paucity of cash, and so many people needed to go and queue up at the ATM to actually get cash, to get the money, whether the old notes or the redesigned notes. Even though the central bank has said that it has extended it to the 10th of February, but you know, people needed to get at least cash to do one or two things. And there are also been reports that even the various online platform apps are failing, so transactions are not easy to get. So people tend to rush to the ATM to go and queue up to get cash so that they could get one or two things they need. So we had that in University of Benin, students were on queue in front of the ATM, and some soldiers came in to also come and get money. We learned that they actually went ahead into the front of the queue and then trying to withdraw money and chase the students that on the line away. And so we learned that they actually left them, but they said a young lady who was also a student there took her phone, probably was recording them, but they said probably she wasn't recording, but the military boys got angry, collected the phone and smashed the phone on the floor, and then maybe trying to beat up one or two persons there. And you know, the students actually now reacted. We learned that they even called the security, they called the attention of the security of the school. They said they tried to mediate on the issues, but they couldn't handle it. So eventually the students now, according to what we were able to gather from Edugist, locked their school gate, and then they had a clash with those soldiers. So they descended on those soldiers, and eventually the soldiers, they left the campus, only for the other group of soldiers to descend on the campus at the dead of the night the following day, and then we learned that they beat up so many people on campus, destroyed so many properties on campus, you know, cars were vandalized, and a whole lot of things actually happened. Well, thank God that everything has been brought under control, but I think things like this should be avoided. We also learned that the authorities of the military there and the school authority are already in talks to see how the case can be resolved amicably. Well, we hope that those in authority will help to handle this and to also ensure that things like this doesn't happen anymore. At least we thank God that there was no life that was lost, but people were seriously injured, were beaten, and were seriously injured. So that was what we were able to gather from University of Benin. There was also this case of a young lady that graduated from Federal Polytechnic Nekede Owerri in Imo State. There's this lady, after graduation, we learned that he went to the social media to say that she's very happy that she has graduated, and she said thanks be to God and thanks be to private part for helping to graduate. These are actually generated a whole lot of reactions from within and outside the school. Even stakeholders too have been commenting on this particular issue. That for this lady to be able to make this comment, that means there is something going on in that school, even though the school also has actually come out to say no, that they don't really understand what she's talking about. And I learned that they've actually set up a panel to review all her papers, and I think she will be invited to actually face the panel. We even learned that the school have actually placed a bounty on her. Well, I don't know how that works. That if anybody can probably bring her, that they will give 500,000. And we learned that she also came out to say, oh, humorously, that if anybody wants to bring her out, that the person should come to her. They will share the money, 500,000, 50, I mean, in ratio of 50% apart, that she will surrender herself. So it has been forth and back. Well, we'll try to update you as the issues goes on in Nekede. I'm very sure that the Polytechnic want to clear their names, and also people are also expecting that the lady should come out and speak out. Let's see whether what allegation is true or not, so that things like this does not happen in our higher institutions. So we want people to graduate based on merit, based on what they did, on their abilities, that they were able to read and they were able to pass, and not because they were able to influence any mark or any score as a result of any inducement that has been given. So that was what we were able to get from Federal Polytechnic Nekede Owerri in Imo State. We learned that the Academic Staff Union of Universities is planning an emergency meeting which is going to happen very soon. Well, date is not yet known, that's not been communicated. Also, you remember that the federal government actually took the union to court, industrial court, where the industrial court actually asked the lecturers to resume to their various duty posts, which the union have directed its members to do that. However, the union has actually approached the appeal court, where the appeal court also ruled then that the union should obey the industrial court first before they could take the appeal. So the appeal is on, and then there was a session sometimes in January, and the case was adjourned to 6th of February 2023. So we're expecting that the union and the federal government will actually meet in court on the 6th of February to see how these issues will be really resolved legally. Well, we hope that these issues will be completely bring to rest, so that we can have smooth running sessions in our various universities, especially public universities in Nigeria. Okay, you remember in our previous episode on this program, we told you about some pupils that were kidnapped in Nasarawa State. Well, we have this good news that about 4 Nasarawa pupils that was kidnapped has regained their freedom. Well, we thank God for that. But I will still want to challenge the stakeholders, challenge the security agencies, challenge those in power to please still try to beef up security around our schools, from elementary level to the highest level of education, the university. Let's ensure that there is a very strong security, very tight security around our campuses, because we don't want things like this to be happening. Because, you know, apart from them regaining their freedom, you know, there is sometimes trauma. There are some post-traumatic experiences that might not be palatable for the children, and some of them might eventually drop out of school. Some of them might not be able to concentrate anymore because of the trauma they experienced during the period of that kidnapping. So it's very, very important that we should try as much as possible to prevent things like this happening around our schools, around our campuses. It's very, very dangerous. So we need to work on that. We also have information from JAMB when we learned that they are announcing that there is no extension for the 2023 UTME registration over the Naira redesign. That's from the registrar. Well, that's what the registrar said, but I hope maybe they too need to review and look at things that are happening now, because with the reality of things in Nigeria as we speak, people are finding it difficult to get access to their funds. You have funds actually in the bank, but you are finding it very difficult to access them. So some people might find it difficult to pay for that. And then sometimes also some people has also complained that even in getting old, maybe using a POS, you have to actually spend more again. You know, people paying thousands of naira to get thousands of naira. You know, it's like if you are spending naira to get naira. Even old notes that you willingly took to the bank hoping that you get new notes, people are buying it back again with exorbitant amount of money. So I think so many people have also complained that they are finding it difficult to register for their 2023 UTME registration. Well, the registrar has spoken. I hope those involved will try as much as possible to see if they can register. But I also advise that the registrar too, they can also review the situation. The registrar of JAMB should help review the situation, so that we know that if this case, if there is need for extension, I think they could do that, so that more people that wants to get their forms will be able to do that. Also, we learned that the National University Commission, NUC, is planning to probably shut down schools for the election, and the Academic Staff Union of University, they are already saying no, that that will not be good enough for that to happen, that we've lost so much ground, and there is no need for the NUC to actually shut schools because of an election. Well, let's review. Like I said, everything needs review, and then you look at the prevailing circumstances around. The Academic Staff Union of universities can also review the stand, NUC review your stand. Just look at it the way it goes, and the best decision that will favor the students should actually be taken, because they've been at home for quite a long time. Okay, we also learned that the Secondary School Teachers Association in Israel is also planning to go on industrial action. They want to go on strike, and they are requesting for also an upward review of their pay. They said they want their monthly pay to also be reviewed upwardly to the equivalent of about $3,500 per month. That this is what they are demanding for, and they are requesting the authorities to ensure that this is implemented to avert the strike. So seems we have strike everywhere. The economy seems a little bit bad all over. Well, we pray God Almighty will help the whole world and help to see that the economy gets better. Okay, so that is where we are going to stop for Matters Arising. I will go on a short break, and when I come back, don't forget that we've been talking about suicide some times ago. We are going to continue in that because it affects a whole lot of students, and so many parents are worried, so many stakeholders are worried, so many school managements are worried. So it is very, very important for you to listen to us on this program. So I'll proceed on this break. Don't go away. I will be right back. This particular program is actually meant to provide mass education opportunity for us. So the first thing you need to consider under presumption phase preparation by schools is that, number one, there must be thorough cleaning of the environment. This is very, very important. It will be easy for the government agency to properly do what we call the contact tracing. It's preparation by the pupils and students themselves, because all of us need to prepare and we need to be on the same page and make sure that we are ready to go back to school. We are still on Edugist, and like I told you, we want to continue on our discussion on suicide. We've been recording quite a number of suicide cases in our various schools, on campuses, and the last time we talked about some of the risk factors, especially among our youth. Don't forget that the youth age is a transition period, and so a lot of thoughts comes in, and so maybe probably some of them are not able to manage some of these situations that come their way. So the last time we talked about the various risk factors. We mentioned mental disorder, and this could be a risk factor. We also told you about substance of abuse, and this could be a risk factor. We also said that stressful events of life, of their studies, even sometimes their families, maybe some of the children that were brought up in an abusive family, you know, sometimes some of them might also come to a point that they say, well, I don't feel this life is worth living, and they want to terminate their life. We also have family history of mental disorder, can also be a risk factor. We also mentioned prior attempt to commit suicide. We also mentioned history of family violence. Then sometimes access to firearms, you know, can also lead to this, just like we have in some parts of the world where people are licensed to have guns, and then some little kids, they have access to the guns of their father or their mother. So some people will just go there and take the gun, either kill others or even kill themselves, commit suicide. So we also mentioned frustration could also be an important risk factor. Unnecessary pressure. Some people even put pressure on themselves. Probably you saw your colleague has gone far, he has achieved this, and because of that you've tried your best, but things seems not working for you, and because of that some people will just terminate it all and say, see, I don't see why I'm living if my friend bought a car and all this who have been trying, you know. So it happens. Unnecessary pressure. And also we can also have academic failure. Most of the students do academic failure. They've tried the course, tried over, and it seems they are not getting the deserved or the desired grade. Let me put it that way, the desired grade that they so wish. Some people might just see themselves as failure, and because of that and they just terminate their life. And we also have financial constraints. Sometimes some people, they just feel that, oh, because they don't have enough funds, so because of that, they will just feel that, oh, let me just terminate it. So those are some of the risk factors that we discussed the other time. Now we want to look at what we should actually look out for. When should someone seek help? You know, even oneself. In this program, we are going to look at the person affected, what he can do, then the person watching from outside, maybe the teacher, maybe the management, maybe the parents, maybe the friends. There are things, there are steps that you can also take to make sure that you stop some of these things. So when should you seek for help for those that are affected? You see, number one is that when threatening or talking about wanting to hurt or kill oneself. If one time or the other you've threatened that you want to kill yourself, or you've spoken about it already, I think you need help. You know, sometimes some people say, oh, it's just a joke. No, if that thought has crossed your mind once, okay, and then probably by one thing or the other you're able to suppress it, you might need help. We are going to discuss the kind of help that you're going to seek later, because it's just like a seed. You see, when that thought of, you know, taking one's life comes in, it comes in, popping once, goes, it pops later, lingers, and before you know, it dominates. It keeps on growing until some people's mind is beclouded by that thought. And when one's mind is beclouded by that thought, if care is not taken, it will get to a point that it will not be able to take it anymore. Those thoughts will have accumulated, and then the eventual, which is committing that suicide, might actually happen. So that is why when, if there is a threat or a talk about wanting to hurt or to kill oneself, then one needs to seek help. Another thing again is that when looking for ways to kill oneself, one is to talk about it. Another is to, you know, you have tried before. You know, somebody say, you have tried to kill himself before. He wanted to jump in front of the car, maybe by one thing or the other, you know, maybe people held him or something just stopped it. If that has happened, you know, then you need help. Because on our campuses, some of these things happen. Okay, we've seen situations whereby some people even actually bought sniper. They drank it, but eventually, because of friends around, they rushed them to the clinic, and they were able to take care of them, revive them, and they are back on their feet. Now, such a person needs help. He needs help, because the next time that thought will come, and he or she is not able to handle it, he might get himself well prepared and do it in such a way that nobody will see. You know, this issue of suicide goes beyond people saying, no, don't mind them, leave him, it's just joking. It does not really mean what he or she is saying. No, we don't treat issue of suicide that way. We don't take it for granted. If somebody has mentioned it, he has talked about it before, as we said, and he's already looking for a way to terminate his or her life, then that person should seek help, or we should encourage that person to seek help, as the case may be. Then another thing is, you see somebody writing about death, you need to probe further. You need to probe further to ensure that this person is not just joking, but probably he actually needs this help, and then we need to actually rally around this person, and then let the person know that he needs help, because at this point, you know, when you are able to take this person through the proper therapy, as we are going to discuss later on this program, you see that you might be able to talk the person out of it, and the person might be able to come out of that suicidal tendency. So if somebody is writing about it, please watch out. If you are the one writing about death, writing about killing yourself, you need to watch out. You are a student, because of your academic performance, you know, you are writing about it. Because of your project, you are writing about it. You have to rethink. You need help. You need to listen to this program, and then so that you will know those you need to see on campus or in your school, that can actually give you help, or in your family that can actually help you to make sure that they talk you out of this, so that you don't waste your destiny. We've seen a situation whereby somebody wanted to commit suicide in a particular country, and then he ran when he was young because things were not moving well. He ran to the rail line when train was coming, but one elderly man ran towards him, lifted him up and removed him from there, and then the train passed, and the person encouraged him and said, "Why do you want to kill yourself?" And after so many talking, the young man went back home, and after counseling, the young man went back to school. Eventually, this man that wanted to commit suicide became the president of his country. So imagine that. So the president of a country, on one hand, will have committed suicide years back. So that tells you that suicide is not an option. Suicide is not the solution. Killing yourself because you are not doing well in school is not the solution. That people are looking down at you as a failure is not the solution. So what you need to do is that when you notice some of these things, you need to tell yourself the truth that you need help. Not just that I'm trying to motivate, I'm just telling you the reality of life. Probably there are one or two things about yourself that you don't know yet and that you actually need to know. When you see somebody that can actually bring up those things, those potentials in you, you discover that you might be able to express your potential, and that will actually help you. That will actually help you to fulfill it. Just like the example of the young man I gave to you, and eventually became the president of his country. So you too can become great. But wasting your life, killing yourself, is like terminating. And look at the a whole nation that is leaning on this person that became president. That means a whole many destinies are also hanging on to your own. So terminating your life is not even just only you again. You will have affected so many lives negatively, even lives to come, because
there must be thorough cleaning of the environment. Thorough cleaning of the environment. This is very, very important. It will be easy for the government agency to properly do what we call the contact tracing. It's preparation by the pupils and students themselves, because all of us need to prepare and we need to be on the same page and make sure that we are ready to go back to school.
The warning signs. There are warning signs, and this is very, very important for parents to take notes, and the teachers as well. There are warning signs that when you see, you can be able to track and be able to probe further, because sometimes you also realize that those involved, they might, in some cases, they might be helpless, if I allow me to put it that way. They might be helpless, and seems they are not in firm control of their life anymore. So, but what can we do? There are things that we can do, and that is watching out for those warning signs, so that immediately we begin to notice those warning signs, we can put an eye on them and then track some of the activities, and then we now know the next line of action, things that we need to do for them. Number one warning sign for those that have a suicidal tendency, for students or pupils that have suicidal tendency, is deteriorating academic performance. If as a teacher or as a parent, you discover that, oh, your daughter or your son have been doing so well before, and all of a sudden, the academic performance just starts to deteriorate, continuously deteriorating gradually, you need to watch it out. It's a sign. It's a sign. There might be something happening that you need to find out. Okay, I'm not saying that all academic deteriorating academic performance, of course, will lead to suicide. But it is just one of those things that whenever you notice it, you need to watch out, even if it's not even leading to a suicide case. But whenever there is a deteriorating academic performance, you need to watch out for it, because in some cases it has been a clear indication that that person is sliding down. And you know, if there is sliding and the result is not coming out well, you know, some of them will just feel and look at themselves as, oh, probably he or she thinks that it's a failure or something, and that is where it starts from. And because of that, they might not be able to handle their emotions, and because of that, it might lead to a case of suicide. Number 2, this one is very, very important. This number 2 is depression. I mean, dramatic mood changes. This one is very, very important. And I think most of our stakeholders, teachers, pupils, and parents should watch out. You just notice a depressive mood of your child and a dramatic mood change. You know, some of them will just decide to lock themselves inside the room, and it wasn't like that before. That's not the way they grew up. Oh, the child that will come home and then sit in the sitting room, we want to watch the TV with everybody, want to play with everybody, you know. Sometimes you even time they're, oh, troublesome, and all of a sudden you discover that there's this drastic mood change, or changes as the case may be, and you know, setting into depression, locking themselves up. And sometimes you talk to them, they will not respond. They are not willing to play with others anymore. They are not willing to talk with even their parents and their friends. Oh, you need to watch it out. You need to watch. This is very, very dangerous, and it is one of the major signs, warning signs for suicidal tendency. Because at this point, if they feel that they don't want to talk to anybody, like I said earlier, they might not be able to handle it in some of those cases. I mean, emotionally. And after thinking forth and back, and then their mood have changed, and they just feel that, oh, they can't handle it. So the next thing that will come to their mind is they should end it all. So please, we should watch this very, very seriously. Any drastic mood change, and you're watching it is being consistent like that, and lock up themselves, or they want to just be alone. There's some of them will just take the phone, and only them will just be alone. They don't want to talk, and this has not been this person's mood ab initio. It didn't grow up that way. It was just a change. Then you need to find out. There might be fire on the mountain, and it's very, very important that we check it out. Another thing, another warning sign is hopelessness. Hopelessness. Probably you are, you know, and you can get this. Sometimes when you talk with some of those students, when you speak with them, some of them sound so hopeless. Oh, what do you want to do? They will say, oh, I don't know. Oh, I'm just there. Life is just there. They don't know what to bring out of life. Life means so meaningless. You know, when somebody begins to get to the state of hopelessness, state of despondency, it's a sign that a suicide tendency can actually creep in at any time. And so it's a warning sign that one needs to watch out. It's a warning sign, and it's very, very important that one needs to watch out. Another sign is anxiety and agitation. You know, you see anxiety, agitation when it's becoming too much. You see, some of these things, they are normal to human beings. Of course, at a time we'll be agitated. At a time we might be anxious. At a time anxiety will set in. But when it's becoming consistent, it's becoming over the board, it becomes irregular occurrence, you know, all the time, it's always anxious, anxiety setting in, is getting agitated, on little things gets agitated, then you need to watch out, because it speaks volume that something is fundamentally wrong. And if the anxiety is not being properly managed, this can actually lead to the pupil or the student actually committing suicide. So you need to watch it out. You need to watch it out. Another major warning sign is also uncontrolled anger or rage. You see some of them, when they get angry, you know, even some people, their parents will be shocked. They get angry. Anything around they can destroy. Anything around they can break. They can go anywhere, they can say anything. At that point, you will see that venom. It is not the time to get unnecessarily angry. It is the time to watch out that this might be a warning sign. And don't forget that some of these signs I'm listing to you, some of them not working in isolation, but they work together. Sometimes you observe this together. Sometimes you observe deteriorating academic performance, and then you discover that there's a drastic mood change. At the same time, you discover that this person is always agitated, and whenever sometimes there's an issue, it gets unnecessarily and uncontrolled anger comes from him. So sometimes it's collaboration of some of these things, and then when you begin to pick them, when you begin to tick those boxes, then you know that there is danger ahead, and you need to watch out to ensure that you try to nip this in the bud as quickly as possible. We can't afford to lose our students. We can't afford to lose our pupils. We can't afford to lose our children, because they are the leaders of tomorrow. And if God has actually maybe destined one or two of them to bring solution to the nation, just like the example I gave, that somebody that wanted to commit suicide eventually became the president. So if somebody that's supposed to discover something in the world of science has killed himself earlier, that means when the problem comes, that solution won't be there. If somebody that's supposed to be the best surgeon has killed himself, you know, that tells you that the best surgeon will not be there as at the time is being needed. If somebody is meant to be the best politician and he has committed suicide earlier, and definitely we can't get the best of the politician. If somebody is supposed to be the best engineer and he has committed suicide, and definitely that person will not be able to be there, and the solution that's supposed to come at that particular generation might not be able to come. So, and that is why it's very, very important that this issue we are discussing, this topic we are discussing, we should pay a whole lot of attention on it and see how we can adopt some of these things. Watch out our children, watch out our pupils, watch out our students, to ensure that when we see some of these signs, we are able to quickly nip them in the bud and ensure that some of these things does not escalate. Okay, we are going to stop here for today. We are still going to continue. There are still some other points under the warning signs that we still want to share on this program. And after that, we are also going to look at how we can help them. That means, what are the things that we can do? What are the practical steps that we can take to ensure that we are able to nip this in the bud, to ensure that we're able to prevent some of these things. So it's very, very important, and that is why you cannot afford to miss this program. It has been Edugist on CAC TV, and I've been your regular host, Dr. JB Minari. I'm drawing the curtain for today. Thank you for joining us, and see you next time. Thank you, and God bless.
This particular program is actually meant to provide mass education opportunity for us. So the first thing you need to consider under presumption phase preparation by schools is that, number one, there must be thorough cleaning of the environment. This is very, very important. It will be easy for the government agency to properly do what we call the contact tracing. It's preparation by the pupils and students themselves, because all of us need to prepare. We need to be on the same page and make sure that we are ready to go back to school.
CAC TV, igniting the apostolic fire.